Welcome to the second of 3 performances in a new series. I'm Michael Asmus, and I'm a harpsichordist and conductor based in Sibley County, Minnesota. I was lucky enough to be awarded a Creative Support for Individuals grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board for 2021. I would like to take the opportunity right now to thank them for their financial support of this project. The second concert is a unique exploration of the similarities and differences in French vocal music over a 700-year period. While not an exhaustive survey, we've chosen a wonderful group of pieces to illustrate. In this program, we'll explore songs written in the late 12th century, songs written in the 1750s, and an arrangement of the 12th century song published in 1830. The pieces on this program are, of course, about love. Like the songs on the first program, the songs on this program by Baroque composer Louis-Antoine Lefebvre allude to mythological characters in the poetry. Cupid, the god of love, Iris, the messenger goddess, and Myrtilus, a tragic Greek hero, all make an appearance. The song by the 12th century trouvère Le Chastelain de Couci, the topics of love focus more on the human-to-human connection. The differences in poetic focus reflect each era's differences in musical style and philosophical approach. Chelsie, Miriam, Theresa, Maryne, and we had a great time exploring these rarely performed pieces. And to the best of our knowledge, the 2 pieces by Lefebvre on this performance are the first ever recordings. We want to send our thanks to the congregation at First Lutheran Church in Winthrop, Minnesota for hosting our recording session. It's a beautiful space filled with wonderful people, and if you're in the area, I highly recommend that you see them both. Let's dive into the life and music of Louis-Antoine Lefebvre, whose cantatie, Les voeux inutiles, begins our concert. Frustratingly little is known about the life of Louis-Antoine Lefebvre. Lefebvre was born in 1700 in northern France, and in around 1739 he became the organist at the Royal Church of Saint-Louis-en-l'Île in Paris. In 1756 he became the organist at the parish Blanc-Manteau in Paris. Beginning in 1749, his motets were performed at performances of the Concert Spirituel, one of the first concert series ever in history. Lefebvre's musical output includes 23 short cantatas, called cantatilles, 12 motets, and several other works. The most interesting pieces in his output are the cantatilles. Lefebvre was composing in a time when musical tastes were rapidly changing. Music in the French styles of Lully and Charpentier were being edged out by the flamboyant Italian style. The debate between which of the 2 styles was best had been simmering for decades, but between 1752 and 1754, a pamphlet debate raged between the 2 sides, led by Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Father Louis Castel, supporting the Italian and French sides respectively. The debate, called the Quarrel des Bafons, or the Quarrel of the Comic Actors, ended with the supporters of the Italian side prevailing. The first piece on our program by Lefebvre, Les voeux inutiles, or Unnecessary Wishes, was written in 1750, just 2 years before the quarrel broke out. The cantatie is obviously French in taste, but it does include Italian elements, like the accompanied récit that follows the first air. The cantatie opens with the poet's lament of Cupid's powers regarding love. Scorning Cupid in the récit, the poet begs for relief and eventually resigns to Cupid's power. The cantatie closes with the poet celebrating the powers of Cupid. We hope you enjoy.
nouviauz tanz is a 12th century grand chant courtois, also known as a courtly love song, by the famous trouvère the Chastelain de Couci. Now, the Chastelain de Couci was most likely actually named Guy de Couci, who was a famous trouvère and a castellan or a governor of the Château de Couci in northern France in Picardy. Now, you might not have heard of the trouvères, but the trouvères were composers and creators of a very, very rich song tradition in northern France from around the mid-12th century through the end of the 13th. Now, they are distinct from their slightly earlier and more famous cousins, the troubadours. So the troubadours, they were composing music in the south of France, and they were writing in the language of Provençal, which is sort of like a French-Spanish combination. The trouvères, they were in the north of France, and they wrote their songs in Old French. Now, courtly love songs typically share a common poetic theme revolving around the concept of fin amour, a highly formalized and unrequited love for an unnamed, unattainable lady of much higher status than the poet. Les Nouviauz tanz is part of this tradition, but it's somewhat unusual in the fact that it mentions a naked lover in the first verse. Now, most courtly love songs do not explicitly refer to the physical aspects of love, but instead they choose to focus on the almost spiritual nature of a distant and unattainable object of desire. Now, there's much that we do not fully understand about how these trouvère songs would have been performed. We're fortunate in that thousands of these songs survive in over dozens of manuscripts, and many of these manuscripts actually contain musical notation. However, this notation only provides pitch information for the first stanza. Rhythm or harmonic accompaniment or the melody for subsequent stanzas is not indicated. So our best guess at this time, and there is some debate still about this, is that these melodies should be performed in a flexible style that allows the singer to really emphasize the natural speech rhythms and the inherent drama of the poetic text itself. Now, we also have very little evidence about instrumental accompaniment for these trouvère songs, but images of vielles, which is a kind of fretted medieval violin, in manuscript illuminations and also reports of vielles playing these songs in later theoretical treatises indicate some possible performance ideas. So in our rendition of this chanson, which we're trying to be historically accurate or at least informed, the vielle is providing an improvised accompaniment for the singer, creating this ever-changing dialogue between both singer and instrument. I hope you enjoy. this next piece shares the same name and text as the one you just heard. There's little else in common between them. In the first version, performed in a historically informed manner, the melody comes from the famous Chansonnier du Roi, a mid-13th century collection of trouvère songs that is one of the largest and most important collections that survives today. The second setting takes its melody from the equally famous Chansonnier Congé. Now, the melodies are similar, but they are by no means exactly the same. And even if they were the same, it would probably be difficult to tell. This second version comes from an 1830 collection of songs by the Chastelain de Couci by François-Louis Perne, a French composer and writer of music history. In this 1830 collection, Perne transcribes all of the Chastelain de Couci's known pieces into modern notation. Now, as part of this modernizing process, he adds rhythm, which was not an uncommon thing at the time or even sometimes today, to the initial melody, and he also sets it under a piano accompaniment. Now, the result is that the free-flowing and simple melody of the first version you heard is transformed into a brisk parlor song in 3/4 time that wouldn't sound out of place in many early 19th century salons and living rooms. While Perne's version of Les Nouviauz tanz might sound a little bit silly to us today, his efforts to share the mysterious trouvère songs with a broader audience must be commended. And who knows, you might find yourself tapping your foot along to the beat as the song goes on. Enjoy.
Our performance closes with a cantatia Delphire by Lefebvre. Two characters from Greek mythology, the messenger goddess Iris and the tragic hero Myrtilus, are prominent features of this cantatia. Such mythological characters would also have been well known to the listeners of these cantatias, and references to Iris and Myrtilus in this cantatia would have also helped listeners connect with the poetry on a deeper level. The story of Myrtilus goes something like this. Onemus, king of Pisa in Greece and father of Hippodamia, feared a prophecy that said he would be killed by one of his daughter's suitors. After defeating 18 suitors in a chariot race, Onemus killed them. Pelops, the son of the Lydian king, would have been at number 19. Pelops and Hippodamia, with the help of the god Poseidon, devised a plot to sabotage Onemus's chariot. With the help of Myrtilus, who was infatuated with Hippodamia and chariot driver of Onemus, they replaced the bronze wheel linchpins with wax. After gaining speed and rounding a corner, the wheels on Onemus's chariot flew off, killing him but leaving Myrtilus alive. After attempting to claim Hippodamia as his wife, Myrtilus was thrown off a cliff to his death by Pelops. Now, perhaps the moral of the cantatia, in order to not end up like Myrtilus, is to go after whatever it is that you desire, whether that be in love, work, or life in general. Now, that's something that I can certainly agree with. We hope you enjoy our performance.